The next morning we were up early to tackle the 6-mile cliffside path that weaves through the 5 villages of Cinque Terre. This is a view of Manarola from the trailhead, and as we turn the corner, here's the view of the path that follows the cliffs along the Mediterranean. We were headed towards the village of Cornelia. This is our first view of the village of Cornelia, and there were a lot of steps along the way. Little did we know we had 382 stairs to climb to reach the center of town. It was turning out to be quite a hot day, so we stopped in Cornelia at this little shop to buy me a t-shirt, and then it was back on the trail towards Vernazza. Halfway there we stopped for a picnic lunch. My little buddy wouldn't leave me alone, so I had to share my sandwich with him. After lunch, we got a view of where we had come from, looking back at Cornelia, and we still had a long way to go. Some people we met on the trail told us that you could take the ferry in between the different villages. It was starting to look like a good alternative for the return trip home. This was our first view of the next village of Vernazza, but there was a lot of trail left to go and a heck of a lot more stairs to climb and descend. But the views and the vistas made it all worthwhile. As you could see, the trail gets pretty narrow, but we pushed on as we were getting closer to our next destination, the town of Vernazza. As we descended out of the hills, we had to weave our way through the narrow passages of the town. At the bottom of the stairs, we were met by some cats as we emerged onto the main street of the village of Vernazza. After exploring Vernazza, we were starting to wind our way out of the village, back up to the trail, onto the next town of Monterosso al Mare. As we climbed higher and higher, we got a view looking back on Vernazza. And we thought the trail was narrow before, but it was getting even tighter. This view of Vernazza shows just how far we've climbed up the mountainside. While tiptoeing up here on the ledge, you had to take care to look at the beautiful vistas from this high up. Both in front of us and behind us, the panoramic views were phenomenal. And all the while Monte Rosso was getting closer and closer. But the beauty wasn't only in the distance. It was up close too. Rose even found a friend to stop and pet. But all the while we had to remind ourselves, keep your eye on the trail. We did see a young man fall off around this area, but fortunately he was saved by the growth below the drop-off. But unfortunately, he lost his glasses. We pushed on, and before we knew it, we were at the edge of Monte Rosa. We took the obligatory picture of our shadow, and it was time for a cold beer at the end of the trail. We had about a 45-minute wait for the ferry to take us back to Manarola, so we spent our time strolling along the beach and taking in the local wildlife. Then it was on to the ferry to see the trail from the easier side. The rest of the trip, Rose and I just relaxed. Rose really had fun in the kitchen, using all of the local ingredients to whip us up some fantastic Italian dinners. And we took time to smell the roses. Well, maybe they weren't all roses, but we took time to smell them anyhow. We sat around, had some wine, fed the ducks, fed the fish, and even fed ourselves. You couldn't ask for a better holiday. And all too soon, the sun began to set on our Italian adventure. We only had a few hours left in this romantic paradise, and we enjoyed every minute of it.
Whoa!